Welcome to Awesome. Just grabbing Anna so she can do this. Who actually had a 3-day weekend? I did the lake life for like 3 hours and was so proud of myself. Normally it's just, grind all week. Anna, LBJ? Like LBJ? Right in Kingsland, where the bridge fell into the water. But apparently Ted Cruz has a house just a little downstream, so it got built real fast. Real fast. Are you gonna?
Everyone's so separate.
I know.
You're afraid of each other tonight. So I'm just going to, I just want to introduce myself. My name is Anna, and I've been helping organize Awesome for the last 2 years. I work alongside with David Gonzalez at the Internet Marketing Party. He is not here tonight, but I wanted to, before introducing Shell tonight, take the opportunity to invite anyone that has not been to the Internet Marketing Party to their event next week. Bree, who here has been to the Internet Marketing Party? All right. It's essentially a group of entrepreneurs that are doing magical things online. The people that we bring to our stages are going out into the world and creating massive online businesses. And so the community there is very similar to this community. So if you have the opportunity to come share, it's our 11th anniversary party next Thursday night at Speakeasy. And we have Mikael Yang, who is the CEO and founder of ManyChat. Does anyone know anything about messenger marketing, like bots? They are the largest on the globe. They have over 500, what is it, 500,000?
1,000.
Yes. Facebook pages that they work with. So Facebook loves them, and they work in partnership, and so there's some really amazing speakers coming to their conference, and we're their launch party. So you're welcome to come. I will be at the back at the end of the night if you wish to come, and I can put you on the list, but you'll need to speak to me before exiting tonight. So without further ado, I asked Shell. She's been on our stage before and has added a lot of value to Awesome in the past, and so I actually threw this to her last minute, and so I really want to say thank you publicly for showing up in such an amazing way and knocking it out after spending the whole summer in Scotland. So
Sorry.
without further ado.
So, my mom one time said, someone said, I can't believe you get paid to speak, and my mom said, I would have paid her to shut up. So, I don't usually have a problem with getting up at any point talking, even though I'm technically an introvert. Can everybody hear me?
Yes.
I have 2 kids, so I can project and yell, but if you can't, just raise your hand and I'll say something. So, how many people here are marketers? You market for yourself or for an agency? Okay, so you guys are this is gonna be a good refresher for you guys, back to basics. I kind of titled this Audiences and Avatars, but it's really sort of a recalibration, if you will, coming back to zero and figuring out if you're doing the right thing before you do everything else, before you spend money, before you build creative, before you do anything, before you write a word, making sure that you're aligned with what you should be doing, okay? So, welcome. Zig Ziglar said, you cannot hit a target you cannot see, and you cannot see a target you do not have. So basically what that means is if you are a ship, right, and you're going for a port, and you get 2 degrees off, are you gonna end up at that port? No. You're gonna be slightly off, but it could take you in a completely different wrong direction. So when you target your market, when you think about how to target your market, you wanna do it with some level of precision, some specificity, right? You wanna talk to your ideal customer. So tonight, what we're gonna do is we're gonna go through an exercise. You don't care about me, I'll come back to that. We're gonna go through and define who your audience is. Now, you may have multiple audiences, right? And we'll talk about that in a second too. But we're gonna talk about the psychology and the elements that go into making an exact audience that you can then turn around and create a marketing campaign for, right? So your audience is first and foremost, it's the domino that needs to fall for everything else. And here are two things that I think are really interesting, and I've seen this happen. A good campaign will fail if you're going to a bad audience, and a really ugly, shitty campaign can work if you have the right audience. You can have the ugliest graphics, the ugliest copy, but if you're narrowing in on the right audience and you have some spark of a message in there, and it's the right audience with the right product at the right time, it'll kick, it'll work. What we'd like to do is help you get to the right audience. So how many people in here are B2B? Okay, so we're gonna talk in a broader sense about industry and verticals and job descriptions, how to find customers that are your competitors' customers, looking up annual revenue. How many people are on Facebook? Facebook is the gold standard. One of the things that I do is I work with agencies as a hired gun to help them recalibrate their paid search campaigns. So I help them with a digital strategy, an overarching digital strategy. And I come in and work with luxury brands, and I would say 95% of the time Facebook makes a lot of sense, right? But for B2B, LinkedIn makes a lot of sense. How many people have done LinkedIn advertising? Hands come down. How many people are on LinkedIn? All hands go up. You should be on LinkedIn. LinkedIn is interesting because you can upload a list of companies that you want to target and run ads to people that have identified that company as their employer. Very specific. So LinkedIn advertising is really interesting if you're doing B2B campaigns. B2C campaigns, Facebook is really pretty successful. Now, a couple years ago, I think we have a Facebook alum in here that can validate this, but Facebook had some changes a couple years ago. You could more precisely target somebody. I could find somebody within 5 miles of a zip code that drove a certain car and shopped at a certain grocery store because they married data that they knew about them based on their Facebook account with data from third party, like loyalty cards from shopping or Visa bills with generic categories. That's kind of gone away a little bit with the whole Cambridge Analytica. A lot of that very specific targeting's gone away. They also had some challenges when it came to people that were using it to discriminate against people. So they would find out what race or nationality or income they had, married those things together, and then took people out of the running for housing ads or job ads. So Facebook ads are a little more tightly monitored and tightly controlled, but they're still very good. Does anybody run political ads? Yeah. So political ads, you have to be verified in advance. You practically have to give Zuckerberg your DNA to be able to run political ads. But all of that is good, right, in the broader sense. It just means we need to do a little bit more work ourselves to find that audience in advance so that we can target that audience later. So B2C, we're looking for what we call lookalikes. So my background is I started in the travel industry years ago. I'm older than the internet. And I was the one that could fix the printer in the office, so I started doing technology, and then I started doing programming. It's literally how it happened, no joke. And then I was lucky enough to be on the cusp of the internet when websites were there, so I built 6,000 websites for travel agents all over the world. And so I sort of learned, once travel agents sort of changed into a more of a concierge, I helped them figure out, instead of being all things to all people, how to be a specialist and how to niche market. So this isn't any different now with Facebook. It's just a bigger channel for us to be able to find those people, right? So travel agents have vendors that they work with, and those vendors have a specific product. So what we did was we looked at the selling cycle of the agencies we figured out what they wanted to sell, and then we went and found customers to sell into, instead of having a product and offering the product, right? One is spray and pray, where you spray an offer out there and you pray people call. The other is finding your customer and then selling to that customer. Your unicorn is going to be that, but it takes it one step further to a lifetime customer, the value of a customer over the lifetime of that customer. So how many people work with sales funnels or know what a sales funnel is? Okay, it's pretty standard. You have an entry level, and then you have a value ladder, and you take them to the next product, take them to the next product, take them to the next product. That's essentially how you should be selling, right? So that you have a customer over the lifetime, because it costs so much to acquire a customer up front, right? So you want to have the lifetime value of the customer figured out. That's what your unicorn ends up being, is a customer that you sell to over the whole lifetime, a whole cycle. It's not just one sale. Can you guys see that? That's so tiny. You guys are really quiet. Usually I have like things being thrown at me and jokes made at my expense. Oh yeah, you can see back there. Okay. So we're going to start from the bottom. And a lot of this philosophy is taken from a number of different sources. And I've seen it work from different people and also for myself. So there's a marketer named Julie Stoyan who has spoken at Internet Marketing Party before, and she's fantastic. And she describes the stages of customers in terms of cold, warm, and hot. So starting at the bottom, which is actually, I should have flipped this slide, but I didn't. Cold prospects don't know you exist, and they don't know what the solution is to their problem. They only know that they have a problem, right? I work with a LASIK company. Cold prospects know they can't see. That's it. They don't know if LASIK's right for them. They don't know anything about a doctor. All they know is they hit 40, and holy crap, they can't see. You people are, it's coming, trust me. You're going to wake up and go, what?
So the ads are in Braille?
Pretty close. You're under 40, aren't you? You won't make that joke after you hit 40, trust me. When I hit 40, somebody put cheaters as a joke in a gift bag, and like 4 days later, I was like, where are those things? I can't read this menu. You need them. They don't know if there's a product or a service out there to help them, right? They just know that they have a problem. Warm prospects don't know that you specifically exist, but they know that there's something out there, right? They've been told about LASIK. Their friend has had it. Something has triggered that they're now in the exploration and investigation phase, right? So they're warm. Hot prospects know you exist, know their problem, and they know you exist and can solve their problem, but now it's up to you to sort of tip, right? You've got to put the right offer in front of them. That's the elusive one that you want to get to. But you have to take them in stages to get there. So you're going to run probably cold traffic, you're going to run blog posts to educate them and help them learn. Warm prospects, you're going to introduce a product to them, but not necessarily try and go for the close. Hot prospects, they've seen it. You're now going to retarget them and run retargeting and remarketing ads and try and give them an offer that's irresistible and close the deal. Now you all know how to market. Go forth, right? All done. Bye. No. So when we put together an avatar, right, what we call an avatar, it's a profile. And we do things with real specific intent. We're trying to get to know that person, because then we can tailor messages specifically to that person. When we write copy, we're writing to Susie, who's a travel blogger, who has 2 kids, who has no time, and just realized that she can't see. We're writing to that specific person. So the next few slides we're going to go through, and we're going to talk about what goes into a profile. Now, digitalmarketer.com This is part of their stuff that's a little bit amplified. Their stuff is great, but I've taken that plus Julie's Toy and plus my own experience plus. But I like to cite them as a source because they are amazing and they're local and we love them. So we talk about goals and values. And we do that so, again, we can align the messaging. So what are their goals? Well, the first three goals are, our three goals are, they want to scale their business. Maybe they want to develop their staff. I work with recruiting agencies, and they want to retain talent or find talent, and they want to reduce costs. So they have a specific goal in mind, and we write down those three. Then the next thing we do is we talk about what are their values. And that's important because, again, you're trying to figure out every obstacle that could be in the way, and you're going to knock it down, either with a graphic or some copy or a landing page or a video. Something's going to spark, right? People take action when they see something that solves their problem, or they see someone that's like them that's had that problem and it's been solved. Some people call that the epiphany bridge. Oh, I see that. Awesome. So if you speak to their values, like if you sell a product and it's ethically sourced, that's part of what you can put in your copy to help someone feel fuzzy, warm and fuzzy about what you do and what you're selling, right? Upfront billing, there's a lot of companies that do hidden pricing or bait and switch. So if you say upfront, you know, that's something, that's a value that they have. That's something that they're gonna really kick on. Any questions so far? You guys, I found this little clip art. Isn't it cute? I was in Scotland for a month. This is Scotland brain right here. Okay, sources of information. The slide got a little weird projecting up there, but as you start to build the profile, you're going to ask, what do they read? And you're going to get specific. What are their blogs? What are their magazines? What are their books? I work with authors a lot. And when we're building their ideal reader profile, we're finding out who they read because we can run ads to those authors. So if they read Stephen King, we can target Stephen King. If they read Stephanie Meyer, we can still read Stephanie Meyer. She's terrible. She wrote Twilight. I think we can all just say that was a bad season. If they read Dean Koontz, we can target that. So whatever the genre is, we can find an author like that author. This goes a long way to helping us build this profile. What conferences do they attend? If you're going after marketers, they might be going to Traffic and Conversion. They might be going to ManyChat. Who knows? But you can target those people. You can run ads to those people based on the things that they like on Facebook or based on the companies that they work for on LinkedIn. I don't run successful ads on Twitter. Has anybody ever run successful ads on Twitter? Sorry, Twitter. They're listening, but sorry. What experts do they follow? Those pages usually have a pretty significant following, and you can target those people. So again, you're just trying to build out the most complete profile. And then social, where are they? Reddit? You know, that's huge, actually. Any questions? Yeah.
Where do you source this information from? So, for example, like experts they follow. Let's say I want to, I know I want to target students at UT.
Yeah.
How am I supposed to know what experts they follow? Am I supposed to run a general campaign on all UT students and pull back the data that I got from that campaign?
So yeah. So the question is, how do you know what they're doing? So do you sell a product?
No.
No. Service. Do you have existing customers?
Do I have what?
Existing customers
Yes.
now? So have you asked them, or do you have a sense of them?
They're kind of all over the place, so it's
Okay.
a little difficult to.
So it depends, right? You need a big enough sample group. Sometimes there's some stereotypes that exist for a reason, so you can kind of get in their head and think about it. For example, I know mom bloggers pretty well. I am a mom blogger. I will also find people and ask them. I will go on certain Facebook groups and ask questions or offer gift certificates to answer questions to get that sample.
Yeah.
You could start with, the best way to do it is to start and test, right? The next best way to do it is to have your own customer list and then build lookalike audiences from that.
Gotcha.
Does everybody know what a lookalike audience is in Facebook? If you have a customer list, it has to be of a certain number, you can import it into Facebook and then tell Facebook, I want to find people like these people. Yes?
What's on the customer list?
It's just email, so it's,
Really?
yeah. They're gonna,
Facebook profile, right?
they're gonna do their best to match up, and it's exclusive to you, but you can upload your email list and say, I want 1%, 2%, or 5% like that.
Okay,
And you can create what's called a lookalike audience.
okay. Do
From
you know
that.
how many has to be on that list?
Sorry?
Do you know how many has to be on that
It
list?
depends, I think it's like 500, it has to be a pretty decent number, yeah. I've tried it, but you can also, there are services, like if you use MailChimp,
Yes.
MailChimp will connect with it, and as people subscribe, it'll filter over to that audience automatically. You can also continue to build it using your Facebook pixel and have people that visit your site pixel and go into that audience as well. So, Facebook, I do a lot of research. I get the weirdest ads, I swear to God, I get the weirdest ads. Because I go visit a site, and then I get competitors' ads because I've shown an interest, right? So now, even though if I'm just shopping for something, I get ads for competitors because I now have ticked a box on Facebook and become an interest in Facebook.
You can
So,
actually use another browser that you don't sign into your email with.
you
And
can.
just do the Googles from there. That's what I do because I do not want to see the retargeting ads.
I personally like to see it because I live at home and work at home and I'm bored, so I want to see the weird shit. Just saying. Yeah. I get Lux and I get cheap. And I get, stuff for guys cologne. And I get, cosplay. I get weird stuff. I have an interesting one. Yes?
You were mentioning Reddit to be powerful. What did you mean by how can Reddit be utilized?
So Reddit is very powerful in terms of research. So you can go on and you can ask questions. You can get kind of in a sense of people's heads. And you can go back and kind of read some of the previous threads and get a sense of people, of what they're thinking or doing or liking or bitching about or,
The resources that they're recommending to
Yes.
one another
Yes.
on obscure products.
huge plethora of, and a very tightly knit sharing group of people.
Quora is also good.
Quora is very, yeah. Does everybody know Paul O'Brien here in town? S.E. O'Brien?
Oh, yeah.
Paul O'Brien is like Quora king. Somebody posted on Facebook, he said, how do I get Paul O'Brien to call me? I said, post a question in Quora. How long will it take Paul to call me back? He'll answer it and call you for research. Quora is great. It actually is coming up very high in search engine results now too, believe it or not. Those used to be blogs were the back door to Google. Quora is now a big back door to Google. Yeah. WordPress used to have the pingdom back end, so when you posted a blog post, instead of waiting for Google to come crawl it and spider it, it would ping Google, and Google would have it in their results in the news section, the news tab, within like 2 hours. Yeah, Quora is now that. So go answer a bunch of Quora questions. So, source of information. Very helpful, figure out who they are. Here's my key to all of this: test, 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 pivot, test, pivot, test, pivot, and then scale, right? So you're gonna test a bunch of audiences. Some of them are gonna be great. Some of them are gonna be like, what? Throw those away, keep going. Iterate and optimize, yeah.
Can I ask another Reddit question?
Yeah,
So is it poor form to go on Reddit and, like, when people are talking about their problem, say, well, I've got the solution, talk about your product, or is that,
it is poor form.
okay.
And that's just general marketing. Give before you ask. Don't DM people with a solution. You can go in and answer the question, and in your Sigma or bio, if people are interested, they'll find you, honestly. But establish yourself as an authority, and people will find you.
The
But if-
mods will shut you right down.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah, you can only post so much within a limited period of time on Reddit.
Yeah, you'll get the ban hammer real quick in a lot of places. But usually it's because it's a, you know, the mob mentality and the bully pulpit. People will shout you down. So good on info, sources of info? All right. That is so tiny, you guys, sorry. All right, so demographics are important, but not as important as psychographics. We'll talk about what that specifically means in a second. So I used to live in Corpus Christi, and I used to live on Padre Island. And Padre Island had 78748 as the zip code. Across the ditch, the bridge, OTB, over the bridge, was the poorest county in all of Texas. So if I was a marketer and I was getting 78748, I either got $4 million homes or people that were unable to pay their rent 90% of the time. So demographics can skew, and you have to be real careful when you're using them. But it is important to kind of have a general sense of it. So you want to know what their age is. So psychographics aren't so much about age as they are where people fall, where they land, how they shop. I am older than the internet, but I shop like a millennial. I have 2 kids in college. One's graduated, one's about to graduate from St. Edward's. People would never guess who I am from my online profile. So you can't necessarily go off of age. You can go off of buying patterns. You can go off of other things. But keep that in mind. Boomers, Xers, Millennials, Gen Z, Gen D, they overlap in channels sometimes. Millennials aren't on Facebook as much as they used to be. There's a ton of Twitter quitters. They're not there anymore. So you can't always rely on age. Gender, don't forget non-binaries. That's now, Facebook is now testing that as a gender. So you can't always just say male and female. And find your target market. Marital status, family status, and children. So I'm going to jump over to Facebook real quick and show you audiences. Hopefully I still have an internet connection. Oh, it's not clicking over. Oh, bummer. Okay, well, we'll come back to that when I figure out how to do that. Maybe. Yeah. I threw out some gratuitous Scottish pictures just so. Okay, now I can't even see what I'm seeing, so we're gonna just, we'll come back to that, sorry. In Facebook, there is an audience insights that gives you the ability to build an audience, a pretend audience, to see what the numbers look like. Some of the choices are parents with little kids versus parents with bigger kids versus empty nesters, right? Because I'm not buying toys. I'm buying wedding gifts. So my kids are empty nesters. I'm buying furniture for apartments and things. My buying habits are very different. So even though I have kids, the ages of my kids matter, right? It's a completely different market. You can choose family status, meaning married, single, separated, divorced. I used to run ads for a wedding company in Port Aransas that did beach weddings. They ran 100% of their ads to Fort Hood. They booked 300 weddings per year. Because they were looking for engaged couples stationed in Fort Hood who they were going to deploy. They never knew. So they had cookie cutter packages, 300 weddings a year, churn and burn. Boom, boom, another one, boom, another one. Very, very cool. Then the hurricane happened. Everything changed. But what's their occupation, job title, and industry? So job title has done the hokey pokey in Facebook. They took it out, then they put it back in, then they turned it all out. So it just depends, right? Facebook is they make changes on the fly, to be honest. And primarily that was because after the election, people were targeting people with certain job descriptions for hate ads, and like, it was just crazy. Everything changed after 2016. Everybody went crazy online. So now they're a little more discriminating and discerning. You have to be more careful. You have to sign pledges. I've had people that have had their entire Facebook ads campaigns pulled, their ads shut down because of a perceived slight, because they used to do something and now they can't do that, but they did it and then they got in trouble. So be very careful, read everything. You know, the biggest lie when we answer is, I've read the terms and conditions. We all lie. Yes, I read it. Read it with Facebook. I promise you, you'll be in better shape. Occupation, job title, and industry are amazing for LinkedIn though. You can find people, I work with oil and gas. I can find oil and gas all day, every day. The exact person I need to get to all day, every day on LinkedIn. Yeah. So, all of this comes together to your avatar, cold traffic, demographics, what they like. Why does it matter? Because your ads are going to speak to them. So you're going to write copy, whether it's, if I'm talking to millennials for, an event, I'm going to have a more casual copywriting style. If I'm speaking to CEOs, I'm going to have a much more formal conversational style. So whenever you're writing copy or building ads, you want to pretend they're sitting right in front of you and write for that specific audience. Any questions about that? Okay.
Good question.
Yeah.
What's the difference? So got it on the demographics, but you mentioned psychographics. What's
Yeah.
the difference?
Psychographics are where they're at in life, right? So demographics are a hard age.
Okay.
Millennials might be how they identify. They shop like a millennial, or they shop like a boomer.
What's the difference between a psychographic and a value?
A psychographic is a characteristic. A value is something they hold, right?
Okay. Thank you.
I answered that, yeah. I drank a lot of gin in Scotland, you guys. It's fun. So now we're going to come to challenges and pain points. What are their challenges? What are their pain points? At the heart of every successful marketing campaign is a problem that's solved. That's it. If you solve their problem and show them how you solve their problem, and you've got something in front of them that solves their problem, that's why they buy. It's not because they like you, although that's important, but it's because you solve their problem. I've bought really bad products because they supposedly solve the problem. I bought a charger, a twisty charger from the grommet before I left that didn't work before I left, and I was real mad, and I got over there and it did work, right? It solved my problem. I wrote mad letters before I left. I got over there and went, oh, I have to use it in the UK for it to work. Oh, sorry. It solved my problem, right? It was a poor buying experience, but ultimately it solved my problem. So when you're thinking of your avatar, what challenges do they have? They're finding and retaining talent if they're a coach or a job recruiter. Travel agents. The person that you're targeting is having trouble navigating airline schedules, or they're having trouble navigating 15 websites, and they just want to pick up the phone and have somebody to call. They want a hand to hold, the neck to ring, right? They want to have something simplified. Or people have trouble onboarding new staff, and they need training. Those are their challenges. Then you've got their pain points, and their pain points are usually fear-based. And fear-based, their fear of missing out on good candidates. They have a fear of not finding the best deal. They have a fear of not being able to afford a solution. So you can write copy that speaks to that fear, right? That's called twisting the knife. You're gonna, oh, yes, I know it really sucks that you have to do this. Here's my solution. Boom, click, they'll click, they'll click. So if you're solving the problem, you have a potential customer. These are just gratuitous Scotland photos. So now you're gonna figure out what their objections are. These are dominoes that are up that you're gonna knock down, right? So what is their objection? You think it's too expensive. No, it's not. We have this pricing. It's fixed pricing. You think you're gonna have to wait 3 hours. No, you can do this in 20 minutes. So whatever their objections are, you're gonna write copy that speaks to that. Or create an ad that speaks to that. But you're gonna know those in advance, and that's gonna go in the mix. The other thing to know is, what is their role in the purchasing decision? It does absolutely no good for you to have the right ad and the right message and the right everything if you're not talking to somebody that's involved or responsible for the decision. If that person's not writing the check. You can target different campaigns to them, but you're not gonna actually ask for the sale for that audience. You're gonna have different audiences that ask for the sale, right? Or you're gonna retarget other people and ask for the sale. So you need to know what their role is. That's Oban, Scotland, by the way. You guys are supposed to go, ooh, wow. Tell us about Scotland. Scotland is amazing.
Where'd you go?
So I was there for an indie authors book conference in Edinburgh one week, and then I went for my family gathering in Oban.
Your clan gathering?
My clan gathering. Yeah. I say that word carefully in the States. They say it all the time over there. It's with a C.
It's a sequence.
With a C.
You should have a picture of your target up there.
Yeah. I should.
Are the fears, are they all some aspect of fear of missing out?
It's usually FOMO. Yeah. It's usually fear of missing out. It's usually fear that they can't deliver, or, and that goes to when you can start to speak to scarcity, right? So you'll see a lot of pages that have timers on them. So when you build your landing page, you can say, you know, time's running short. I have travel agents that are selling an amazing trip, but they only do it 72 hours, you know, in 72-hour increments. We open it up, people book, we close it up. So it's the fear of missing out. Scarcity is what it really boils down to. Okay, so how do you bring it all together? Well, first, you're gonna get specific. So when I build an avatar, I actually give it a name. This is Lulu. She's a travel influencer. I know everything about her, but I also know what technology she uses, right? I take it a little bit further. I know she's on an iPhone. I know she's on Facebook a lot. I know she does Instagram a lot. I know she's a foodie. I know that she likes avocado toast, but doesn't like sprouts. I mean, those are the specific things. I can then go into Facebook and plug in some of those big brands that she likes, some of those big pages that she follows, and then I can build an audience and see if it's big enough. Sometimes I have to take it out demographically or by zip code. I work with a high-end audio company, and I can find football players that want to buy $350,000 speakers, believe it or not. Just from doing this, and I found a big enough pool of it. Yeah.
Yeah, so what's the deal when it's, because I was doing some stuff for fine art and trying to target very, very specific, obviously,
Yeah.
paintings that start at $8,000. And there would be times where it would be like, the audience is too small to blah, 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 blah. And
Yeah.
I'm like, well, that's what I want.
Right.
So
That
like,
is the audience.
give me those people. I
Yeah.
don't care about everybody else.
So if it's too small, what you can try and do is run cold traffic to a bigger pool. So are you narrowing it, how are you narrowing it down?
It was very interest-based, basically. I was trying to, like, you know, I don't know if you know the website First Dibs, which is like a fine art thing out of New York, and Gugasian galleries, and, you know, just like high-end galleries, and then like some having to do with like work, employment, and so gallery owners
Yep.
and relationships to that. So,
Yep. So I would open it up and do Rob Report.
yeah.
I would open it up and
Yeah, I
do,
could do.
yeah, I would open it up and do luxury travel brands. Because a lot of people will, sometimes it's not them, it's their assistant.
Yeah.
It's actually doing purchasing
Hopefully
things.
that's true, yeah.
So
I didn't think about
if
that.
you open it up a little bit
Yeah.
and you run cold traffic to it, blogs that teach and educate, right? And then if they click, then they're on your radar more specifically,
Yeah.
and then you can run retargeting ads to them.
Yeah.
So I've run retargeting ads that have 60% success from that.
That's great.
They're really, really, retargeting is the greatest thing ever.
Yeah, that's the whole pixel thing.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I haven't dabbled with that yet. That's it, I know, that's important.
Who does Facebook ads in here? Find one of them and talk to them about Pixel. Yeah.
Well, yeah, I couldn't get into the client's website was kind of the problem. I was like, hey, we need to do this pixel thing, blah, 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 blah. And he's like, I don't know who does my website, blah, blah. So I was
So
like, well,
here's the
okay.
cool thing. There are intermediaries. If you can't update pixels, there's Jot URL. Is everybody on AppSumo?
Oh,
You guys know what AppSumo is? Go look at AppSumo. There's several products that are link shorteners, but the cool thing about them is that they will pixel the person. Yes. So I use Jot URL for booksellers because we can't obviously pixel Amazon, and we have to send them directly to Amazon. We can't take them to a web page and then bounce them. We have to, so we use a link shortener, we pixel them, and then they send them over to Amazon, and that's not against Amazon's terms of service. Yeah.
I want to mention about link shorteners, so if you put them in an email campaign, you're almost like very likely to get those emails blocked in Spanish.
Yeah, email's a whole different animal. You're right. Yeah, you're right. MailChimp in particular gets freaky. The incoming, if it's a MailChimp and it has, because they think they're affiliate codes. They think you're cloaking an affiliate.
Well, it's not even MailChimp, I mean Google, or Gmail, Yahoo, all.
Right, it's the
their
inbound.
spam filters will
Yeah.
block, link shorteners.
But
Yeah.
a lot of times that's done just to get people's emails, and if you already have their emails, you wouldn't need to do that as much.
Yeah, they've already opted in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like Jot URL. There's also, there's a couple that work with Bitly. Bitly is one of the more reputable ones. They have an API, so there's a lot of them. And there's also Jot URL. You can have your own custom URL. So I have an envo.to address that I use as a shortener, and the email incoming Gmail, they don't know the difference between that and something else. They don't know that it's a link shortened account because it's not Bitly or Google Links has gone away, but it doesn't know that. Yeah.
Another thing about the email list, I don't know who was asking, but what you can do is if you have like running an ad campaign and people opt in, so I don't know if anybody subscribes to Morning Brew, but what they do on their first one is like an introductory email, is like they have the instructions of how you can take it from your updates folder, which is where a lot of subscriptions fall into,
Right.
and put it into your primary.
Right.
So it's kind of like that opting in factor.
It's
so
an
really,
onboarding. Yeah.
yeah, but
an
it's
onboarding.
that next step in the funnel.
Right.
Not really the first. That's typically a lot harder.
Do they're not made aware of it though, that you've moved it from the updates to the,
No,
Maybe.
I believe not, but I'm sure they could see the open rate
Right,
for those
they
emails.
can.
Yeah. So.
yeah. So it's, again, you're taking them iteratively, process by process, through a funnel, basically. So you're gonna tailor everything, get specific, name your person, have a specific audience for them. You're gonna, what I do is I have a cold, warm, and hot for all three. I have one for all three. Multiple avatars are good. They're great. They help a lot because you never know where people are gonna come in, and you can kind of build a diagram based on where they're going, where you want them to go next, right? Single call to action for things. Test and tweak, not twerk. No Miley Cyrus things going on. Successful campaigns sometimes 3 or 4 pivots. Sometimes I throw them out and start again. But the nice thing is I start with a $5 spend and test and test and test, for like 3 days. It's $15. And then if I get something, I'll scale it 20% over, a couple of days until I hit critical mass. And then people get ad fatigue, and then change out the creative and change out other things. Right? Yeah.
Are you statistically relevant information on $5 spend, or are you, I've heard you have to spend like hundreds on these campaigns?
No, I don't. I get good results. But you have to leave it on long enough for it. And it depends on Facebook what you're actually, if you say it's a conversion versus traffic, you're gonna get different results based on that. So you you have to be, Facebook ads is different. Get your audience right, and then when you test it, you can test a conversion versus a traffic ad.
But if you're starting out, you'd suggest traffic versus conversion?
Depends on the audience. I do traffic for cold, and I do conversion for warm and hot. But that's me. There's different schools of thought, and again, test, iterate, optimize, pivot, ask other people. Ask other people in your sphere, friend stuff. I do a lot of high-end luxury. I do real well with that, but I also have audiences now, right? So one of the other ads that I work with is non-rev. They're airline employees. I now have a 300,000 person audience that is hot, right? They buy because I've worked in groups. It takes time to get there too. So, but I can, it's like putting chum in the water. Little fishies go crazy. It's awesome. Here, buy this really crappy product. Yes! So, all right. Yeah. Oh, question.
Yeah, two-part question. So I think the first thing you mentioned was running for 3 days, right, before you decide. Okay.
So Facebook has a split test feature now, and they'll put it in for 3 days automatically. And you can test creative, you can test audiences, you can test demographics. They have like 4 different things that you can drop down and test. I've used that like 3 times. It's not as effective as me doing it myself. It's just not. So your mileage may vary.
Second thing was, at what point do you determine, like, let's say you want to test out product pricing or something like that. Does it? I'm afraid of like ruining the brand impression by just changing up prices and running ads to someone who might see that. Like, how do I work around that?
So explain that a little more. Are you testing the pricing or are you testing a discount?
The pricing.
The pricing.
The pricing.
So I don't ever do that to a wide audience. I always do it to what's an MVP, minimum viable product.
Okay.
And land on it and then run ads. It's always easier to run discounts on a higher dollar product after they've committed and come to your website. So I wouldn't run a discount to a cold traffic audience. I would run a discount to a warm or even really a hot traffic audience that's retargeted. So you have a cold traffic audience, the price is $99. They come to your site, then they get a retargeted ad that says, hey, you didn't finish that. Do you want that? Are you sure? It's kind of like you see the forgotten cart things, or you get an email and you commit halfway and then you get an email with a discount later. That's what those are. So do that with a fairly committed person that has a higher intent, right? And then you can do that with a hot traffic that's been there, that's maybe gone all the way through but not hit submit.
You can also do a downsell where if they don't buy your highest priced product, you retarget them later with a lower priced product to see if they buy that as
Yep.
well.
Does sending an email afterwards, let's say you decided to put something in your cart, didn't buy it, you get an email or a retargeted ad, and it offers you the same product at a discounted price, does that undercut or undermine the value of the product?
Depends on the product, depends on how you word it. There's a lot of factors that go into that in terms of the copy. Are you delivering on a promise? Is it truly a discount, right? What was their intent? There's a lot more that goes into that kind of campaign where you're retargeting and trying to pick up the pieces. Does anybody have any ideas on that?
Something that actually works as something like that is if you have a scarcity item in that, where you're like saying, okay, so in 24 hours or 48 hours, this 50% discount on the original price is gonna expire, so grab it while you can.
But it absolutely has to go away.
Yeah.
You can't play hokey pokey with them. You can't, like if you go with AppSumo, when their codes are gone, codes are gone.
Okay.
They might bring it back later, but they aren't gonna play games, right? Because a lot of people will do that. I've had people that have put something in their cart and then they go, I'm gonna wait 3 days,
Right,
wait for that discount code. So you don't wanna be predictable.
right.
Yeah.
I try to recognize the things that are motivating me or that are getting me to react. Like when I think, oh man, I should get this now because this looks like a good deal. And I try to, it takes time and sometimes it doesn't always work, but I try to, wait, let me see how they got me to this
Yeah.
state, you know?
Funnel hacking.
Because I don't
Engineering
really,
it.
I don't really need this thing, but now I really kind of want it. So let me go back and see this email chain and kind of like deconstruct their tagged, you know, the way that they marketed to me to get me to feel that way about something that I don't necessarily
It's
need.
evoking that emotion. I've done that. I go, what the hell did I just buy? Oh, they're good. I will know them now. There's a copywriter, Yara Golden. She does a concept called story selling. I build courses. My company is called Athenia Training. I bought a course from her. Like, this is wizardry and magic. How did you do this? The copy was just compelling. It just ticked all the right boxes.
And the
So,
retargeting, the
It
like
was
the
all of
timing
it.
and all of those things, they come together.
it was all of it. Yeah, it was the total package.
What was that called?
Story selling. Story selling. Yara Golden. She's literally one of the best copywriters I've ever come across. Ever. She's just phenomenal. She writes a bunch of stuff for Russell Brunson, the ClickFunnels. And her partner James, I think he works for ClickFunnels. They're in Havasu this week. They're off-grid, all of them. I'm like, how does that even work now? I was in a island in Scotland and still got internet. What is happening? I don't get that. So this is just audience insights. This kind of gives you a quick and dirty way for you to research audiences. You can play with these numbers in advance. Thing to remember about this is these are people that are on Facebook, right? They might not necessarily be active on Facebook. It's just they're on Facebook. So you actually have to run a campaign to know what you're really dealing with. But it does give you a good insight into how it is. There are a couple of products that are kind of cool. There's one called FB Niche Finder. I swear this is written in DOS. This is like so old school, but it's really good. It really works. Yeah, so I like that. It's kind of it's gray hat-ish, but it finds things. But what it does is it combines, it's a good audience research tool because it actually combines Google stuff with Facebook stuff, so you can look for keywords and hidden stuff and lateral searches and all kinds of stuff. So I like it. Hey, thanks. There's a link you can download the slides at. Can't read that. It's Athenia Training /awesome. Athenia Training /awesome. Okay, I curtsy now.
Thank you.
So I'm not affiliated with Internet Marketing Party, but if you haven't been, please go. It's the coolest thing. I was walking around one day, and I went and saw, I think it was Julie Stoyan, and I turned around, and somebody that I had done a mastermind with that I thought was in New Zealand was sitting at the bar. It's just the best of the best marketers that you've ever come across. Austin's a hotbed of cool marketing people, honestly. But they all go to this, and it's just have a beer with, you know, the CEO of some company. It's just the coolest. So if you can go, go. Yeah.
Can you talk about what you provide?
What I provide?
Your business.
Oh.
Do it.
Do it.
My business. So I do paid search campaigns. I'm a hired gun for agencies. So if agencies need stuff, I don't really work with the general public in terms of marketing, but agencies bring me on as part of their team and I fix their stuff. The other part of what I do is I build courses for authors, coaches, and entrepreneurs that are subject matter experts or have their own book and want to turn it into a course. So I have an instructional design piece to that. I work with a lot of authors, nonfiction and fiction authors. I know some weird, imaginative people, you guys. They're writing some crazy stuff, and I'm here for it.
Like?
Post-apocalyptic, dark fairy, vampire, end of world, weirdness.
Do you remember the name of the graphics library that you used for your slides? Because I really like it.
Oh, I got it off of AppSumo. It's stock unlimited, $49, 3-year sub. Man, I should have been an affiliate tonight. AppSumo's on fire. I love AppSumo. I bought a product today called Crisp.ai. It takes out background noise on Zoom calls.
Oh, wow.
I tested it and it worked. Dogs barking, kids yelling. Huh? KRISP.ai. If you go to AppSumo, it's $39. I bought a thing called Amelia. That's a booking plugin for WordPress. It does the exact same thing Calendly does, but it's $49 forever instead of $20 a month for Calendly. I like Calendly, but I like having things that are branded to my website.
What's it called?
Amelia.
That's this one. The Amelia is this graphics.
Oh, deposit. I'm sorry, stock unlimited is
Stock
this.
Unlimited.
Yeah.
Thanks.
That's where I found the unicorn. And all the graphics, honestly. Yeah, I like it. Yeah, any other questions? Crisp, KRISP.ai. I have lots of nerd resources, so you guys reach out if you ever have questions. I do that a lot. I beta test a lot of software, and I write reviews, and I look at software for clients, and I do ops implementations, fix stuff for people. Because I was the girl that could fix the printer first. And then they sent me to school. Yeah. Yeah.
For you. Let me ask you on all the business that you have done so far, on which of them you make more money?
Which of them do I make more money, or which of them do they make more money?
No, you.
Me, the high-end audio, and the high-end spa. So Mother's Day, last Mother's Day, I sold $60,000 of gift certificates
Wow.
in 7 days.
Thank you.
Those are some bad sons, they should have gotten a real gift.
Let me tell you what the audience I did was. You would think it would be sons, right?
Right.
I didn't. I targeted mothers, or daughters, to do a mother-daughter twofer.
Nice.
I targeted sons that had, that were married, that had a mother in the radius, that back when we could kind of do that. And the ad copy was, don't forget the other woman in your life.
Oh,
Buy
nice.
2.
Nice.
So good.
That is
That's how you get inside their head and think, okay, how can I make them feel bad about themselves today? Woo! It's the fear, the hitting their pain point, twisting that knife, yes.
So you mostly target towards the pain points?
I do, it depends on the product. Do I mostly target to the pain points? I usually have the pain points at some point in the copy, sometimes in the ad, sometimes not in the ad. It depends on the who I'm targeting. Cold traffic, I generally don't try and make cold traffic feel bad. Cold traffic, I'm usually educating them. I'm warming them up. I'm educating them about the product, the service, the company, me, something, right? Warm traffic, I'm like, hey, what are you doing? What are you doing? What are you doing? What are you doing? Hot traffic, I'm jumping up and down in front of them. Hey, do this now. Do this now. You're gonna miss out. You're not gonna be able to go to Paris on December 7th if you don't book this right now. Right now. Yeah. So it depends on the audience. Yeah. Yeah.
Quick question. So cold traffic, educate about the product. Hot traffic, you do a buy now. What do you do for the? Can you give me an example of what you would send to warm traffic?
So I'll give you the example of the LASIK company. So the LASIK company, cold traffic is, you can't see. Did you know that people that turn 40 often have this presbyopia? This happens, blah, 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 blah. They've clicked on the ad, right? So now they're pixeled. Now I know who they are, and I can run ads to them that says, hey, did you know LASIK is a good solution to this? Even if you have astigmatism, even if you have this, even if you have that, I'm continuing to educate them, but I'm also saying, here's the specific thing I want to sell you. And then if they go, oh, cool, and I'm asking them here,
When they
schedule a
click-
free evaluation.
When they click on the ad, that's what they're going to, is
Yeah.
schedule a free evaluation, okay,
Yeah.
got it.
So the first one is I want to get them on a newsletter if I can. So I'm going to offer them an ethical bribe and get them on a newsletter and cold traffic.
Okay.
Warm traffic, I'm going to take them a little bit deeper, ask for a bigger commitment,
That's
right?
the eval.
Schedule a free evaluation. Hot traffic, I might say schedule a free evaluation. Here's $50 off, right, or something, because they need a tip.
Right.
They need a little push, little push.
Would you include, so let's say, cold traffic, LASIK, I click on the ad, you're educating me about the product.
Yeah.
At the end, would you do subscribe to newsletter, or would you do schedule a free eval?
So it depends on what the creative and the copy is in the ad. So a landing page should always fulfill the promise that you're making in the ad.
Okay.
So whatever if you're just there to educate them, you can take them a little bit deeper and ask them, like, download this ebook to explore more of your options. Kind of goes back to what you think their pain points are, or what their objections are. They could be, enter your email here and go to a cost calculator. It could be, enter your email here and go to a webinar, right? It depends on whatever the promise is you want it to align all the way through, and whatever the ethical bribe is. It's not always going to be email, right? And a lot of times we ask for the email too fast. I go to websites and there's this exit intent on all websites now. It's like, I'm opening up a second window, you guys! Come on. You know, it's like we're holding hands and all of a sudden you're trying to get to third base. Calm down, right? Calm down.
You could use a progressively blurry like layer
Yes.
over it as they scroll through them. Oh
Yes.
my God, my eyes are really getting bad.
Yes. Do an image that's like,
That's right.
oh my God, I need this now.
Everything she said is coming
Right?
true right now.
Slightly ethical questions, but I try, I test it. I test the hell out of that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I was running one ad on Facebook to capture their emails for the subscription. So there was one specific where I only want to pay if they can provide the email within the ad. And I was charged, but there was only 2 emails out of 10 we got in. So I don't know if the rules changed or
So what you probably ran was the forms on Facebook.
Right.
Those are so expensive. They're like $10 sometimes per lead on those, because Facebook takes a chunk. It's immediacy. That's why Facebook charges as much as they do for that. Again, go back and look at your audience. Is that hot enough that you can spend $10? Is it worth it over the lifetime of that customer? Because you just gotta, that's a sunk cost, right? That $10 is gone. You burned money.
Can you just run like a conversion ad and just have them go to a website and fill out a form to
Sure.
be a conversion?
Yeah, that's actually what I do.
It's a cheaper way to do
Yeah,
it, right?
that's what I do.
Yeah.
That's what I do. I very rarely use those Facebook. I have had some success with them, but it's hit and miss and it's so expensive. And I'm so cheap, honestly. I am. I'm dirt cheap with my clients' money.
That's right.
I am.
There's a guy in Round Rock, I can't remember, he was on a podcast that it does like $1 a day. His whole focus is like $1 a
Yeah.
day testing.
$1 a day
really
testing.
Super specific targeting.
Very specific target. You have to have a big enough audience, though. That's the
Yeah.
thing. So, like for example, with LinkedIn, I love LinkedIn, but on average, people log into LinkedIn once every 90 days. So I can't test for 3 days on LinkedIn.
Yeah.
It's just not going to work, right? I have to test a longer time, and I have to be more specific.
Are you able to like see what type of person logs into LinkedIn once every 90 days? Like, are we talking about executives, are we talking about, you know?
So the cool thing with LinkedIn is you can tell it who you want. You can
Right.
upload a spreadsheet and say, I want everybody that's CEO, marketing director,
Right.
football player, whatever it is, you can upload that.
But
And
is there a
then
way to get data on the
You get
types of
generic data,
typical-
they're not there yet, they're
Okay.
working on it. So I met with LinkedIn like 2 months ago and they're like, yeah, that's coming. It's like, you know, that's on our roadmap.
Yeah.
Okay,
What about Discover Org? Leveraging Discover Org
I don't know,
for
for,
it's like, it's account mapping, right, within an organization where you have certain job roles and titles and.
So I haven't used that. What I have used is I use a CRM called SharpSpring, which I love, and it does that. It does IP reverse mapping so that I can see traffic like that. But does Discover Board look, it's like all over aggregating?
You know, it's good. I mean, the only time that I use it is to like kind of build out campaigns and
Yeah.
really, so I do account-based marketing, so it's really focused.
So it's more B2B?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you use the LinkedIn Premium?
No? Yeah.
Does it have similar?
Similar, yeah,
Similar?
yeah, but there's different information on Discover.org that is more applicable to that company, specifically acquisitions, things that take place.
Got it.
Yeah.
So kind of like a HubSpot where it has?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, kind of.
Yeah, so IP information, intellectual property, back, reverse lookup kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. What was the platform you said you used?
I like SharpSpring.
Sharps.
SharpSpring. Yeah, they're gonna be here September 12th. I have a few invites if you want them. I'm not affiliated with them, I just like them a lot. I know, right? I'm a terrible marketer. My passive income is shit. I just feel like I should be agnostic when I stand up here and not sell you guys on stuff, right? We're here to learn stuff rather than sell stuff, so. Yeah. Who's here for the first time? Who will be back? Good, put your hands up. Cool. All right, well, you guys grab a beer, hang out, talk to everybody.
That's great.
Let me know. Grab a slide deck off the website.
Right.
I mean, it has a slice, so there's a mix.
Specific for certain approaches, but it's doesn't cross out for everything.
And I think that's the main thing.
So that's how my vertical is basically I just started looking at business necessity because economics is terrible.